Okay, in this chapter we're going to talk about finding slope and graphing linear equations. So let's get started. All right, number one, as soon as it loads, there we go. Number one says y equals -2. And this one is actually the simplest out of all of the equations that you're going to try to graph. And if y is always going to equal -2, y, this is the y-axis, and this is your x-axis, y -2 is right here. So y is always going to be -2. So you can come up with values of x of anything that you want to. You could say -100, -144, whatever. Y is always going to be -2, so it doesn't really matter which points you pick. So if we want to pick this one and then draw our line is going to look like this all the way across y -2. And that's all you do for this one. So for this question, just wanted you to graph the line of this equation, and it's just y -2. So y is always going to be -2 no matter what x equals. All right, moving on to the next one. Make a table and graph the line y equals -2/3 x. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is put in your values of x. So we pick -1, 0, and 1. And these are our x's. And then our formula, or our equation, is y equals -2/3 x. And then we're going to try to find what y equals. So we're going to plug in -1 into where x is here. So let's just put this in here. -2/3, and then in parentheses, -1. So anything times -1 just changes the sign of the other number. So -1 times -2/3 is 2/3. And then you're going to plug it in for 0. -2/3 times 0. Anything times 0 is 0. And -2/3 times 1 will give you -2/3, because anything times 1 is the other number. So now all you got to do is plot your points. So you're going to take your x value from here and your y value from here and make a coordinate point. So you have -1, 2/3. And then your next point is 0, 0, which is on the origin. And you just need 2 points to form a line. So -1, 2/3 would be around right here, and then 0, 0 is right here, and then you draw your line. And I'm doing pretty good on my lines today, Mrs. Glenn. All right, and that's all you do for this one. Okay, number 3, solve for y, make a table, graph the line. All right, so you have to get it in y equals on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. Doesn't matter which side you pick, as long as y is on one side and everything else is on the other. So we want to move everything over that is not a y to the other side. So first thing I'm going to do is draw my wall. That's a really bad wall. Let's try that again. All right, we're going to draw a wall. That's a little better. All right, so we're going to do all your adding and subtracting first. So we're going to get rid of this 4x by adding it to both sides. What is up with my x? There we go. And then that cancels out, and you're left with 3y equals 12 plus 4x. And then to get y by itself over here, these are multiplying, so you're going to divide to get rid of it. And if you divide on one side, you got to divide on the other. So you're going to divide by everything on the other side. So then you're left with y equals 12 divided by 3 is 4. And 4 divided by 3 you can't do, so you're just going to leave it in 4/3 x. And I don't really like that 4/3 x because that's going to be kind of hard to graph, but we'll try. Okay, so now we have y equals 4 plus 4/3 x. So now you're going to use your table and plug in values of x. So you have -1, 0, 1. And then your equation is 4 plus 4/3 x. And we're looking for y. So we're going to plug in our -1 for values of x right here. So you have 4 plus 4/3 times -1. Only thing times -1 is the opposite sign. So now it's 4 minus 1/3, or 4/3, which is 1 and 1/3. So 4 minus 1 and 1/3. is 2 2/3. And then you have 4 plus 4/3 times 0. Only thing times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. And then you have 4 plus 4/3 times 1. And anything times 1 is the other number. So 4 plus 4/3 is 5 1/3. Or you could just write it 1/3 because I wrote it over that way. But that's okay. All right, so now we're going to pick 2 points and graph the 2 points. So you have an x value of -1 for this one, and you have to use the same column. You can't skip around and pick a y value and x value for something else. So if you pick x here, you have to pick this y. So you have -1 and 2 2/3 is the first point, and then we'll do 0, 4 for the next one. So 0, 4. So -1 and 2 2/3 would be right about there. And 0, 4, 0, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be right here. And your line would look like this. And that's how you do this one. So let's check it says solve for y, we did that, make a table, and graph the line. So we can go on to the next one. Find the slope of the line. Okay, now slope is rise over run for this question. So rise over run, and we talked about this before. Rise can go up or down. If it goes down, it's negative. If it goes up, it's positive. And run can go left and right. So if it goes left, it's negative, and it goes right, it's positive. So you're going to start from your left point and go to the right, just like we read. So when you're looking at this graph, you're going to start from this side of the graph, whichever point comes first. Doesn't matter if the point's up here or if the point's down here, you're always going to start with the point that comes first and go to the right-hand side. So we're going to start at this point, and you're going to try to get to the other point by going rise over run. So we're rising first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's your top numerator. And then from here, how much do you have to run? 1, 2. So it's 2 over. So this slope is 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5. So this graph has a slope, or this line has a slope of 2.5. And that's how you find the slope of a line using a graph. All right, next one. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. All right, so slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope, and m is just a variable that stands for a number that is going to be the slope. So whatever number is next to x in your equation when you make it into this form, it's going to be your slope. And then b is your y-intercept, and all that means is where the line crosses the y-axis. So if we were to draw a graph, and our line crosses the y-axis at the origin, so say it goes like this, then the y-intercept is going to be 0. So it's just telling us where the line crosses the y-axis. That's the only thing that it does. All right, so we need to get it into y equals mx plus b. So we're going to do all of our adding and subtracting first. So draw your wall. So we're going to add 9x to both sides because that's the opposite of negative 9x. I cannot draw x's today. I apologize. Okay, here we go. So these cancel out, and you're left with 3y. If I'm going too fast, you can pause and replay me. And then on this side, you have 18 plus 9x. Now, if I need to put it in this form where 9x comes first, then I'm going to write 9x first, keeping whatever sign is in the front of it. So 9x, and then our b is our intercept. So this is a positive 18, so plus 18. So now I have the right-hand side in that form, but I just need to get rid of that 3 so that y is by itself. So these two are multiplying, so to do that, you're going to divide by 3 on both sides. So these cancel out. 9 divided by 3 leaves you with 3x, and 18 divided by 3 leaves you with 6. So now we are in slope-intercept form. So we have y, I'm checking over here, y equals mx, 3x, so 3 is our slope, plus 6, plus 6. So 3 is your slope, because it's where m is, and 6 is your y-intercept. So that means for this line that if we were to graph this linear equation, then at 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the line's going to cross there. And that's going to be the starting point for when you have to graph the line later on in the next couple questions. So you're going to start with your y-intercept. So that's why y-intercept is important. All right, let's move on to the next one. Identify the slope and y-intercept. So on your paper, you're going to write y equals mx plus b. So is that in the form y equals mx plus b? Yes, it is. So whatever's here next to the x is your slope. So slope is going to equal 1/4. And whatever's on the end with the symbol that's in the front is going to be your y-intercept. So it's a positive 4, so your y-intercept intersects the y-axis at positive 4. And then for the next one, for b, y equals negative x minus 5. Your slope is whatever is in front of the x. Well, this is a hidden number 1, so our slope is actually going to be negative 1. So that one's a little tricky, so make sure that you realize that this is 1x, so it's negative 1x. So our slope is negative 1, and then y-intercept for this one is whatever is on the end, and using the symbol 2, or using the operation sign. So this is a negative or minus 5, so a negative 5 is your y-intercept. So that means that the line crosses this linear equation. When you graph it, the line's going to cross at negative 5 on the y-axis. So that's for B. And then for C, you have negative 8 is in front of x, so slope for this one is negative 8. And your y-intercept is whatever's on the end, and that's a negative 4. So don't forget to use the positive or negative that's next to it, so that's a negative 4. And that's all you do for these. The only thing that would be tricky is that if this was not already in slope-intercept form, then you would have to put it in slope-intercept form and then identify slope and y-intercept. All right, moving on to the next one. Write the equation in slope-intercept form, identify the slope and y-intercept, and graph the line. Well, it would be good if we had an actual equation. So let's do 3y minus 12x equals 21. All right, so down here, we're going to put it into that form. 3y minus 12x equals 21. So you're going to do all your adding and subtracting first. So draw your wall. We're going to add 12 to both sides to get rid of, add 12x, to both sides to get rid of the 12x on the other side. These cancel out, then you're left with 3y equals, now we want it to be in slope-intercept form, which is mx plus b, like I showed you in the previous one. So we're going to write our 12x first because that's the mx. So you have 12x, and this is a positive 21, so we're just going to keep 21 down here. Now all we got to do is get rid of this 3 in order to have y by itself. So these are multiplying, so we're going to do the opposite, which is dividing. And you divide on one side by 3, you got to divide by 3 on both sides. So then you're left with y equals 12 divided by 3 is 4, and then you have your x, plus 21 divided by 3, which is 7. So now we have it in mx plus b form. So you're going to identify which one is your slope and which one is your y-intercept. So for b, we'll write it up here, slope equals 4, because that's where m is. And the y-intercept is the b at the end of the mx plus b, which is positive 7. I'm going to write for A up here too, because that's answering the question. And then graph the line, the linear equation. So now we're going to graph the linear equation. So we can make a table, or you can start with your y-intercept, which is 7. So at 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is right here. That's what I was telling you earlier. Start with your y-intercept, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. All right, so starting at 7 up here, we're going to use our slope. Remember, rise over run. So this is a whole number, which means you can write it with a 1 underneath. So we're going to rise 4 from this and run 1. So rising 4, 1, 2, 3, I'm just going to draw an extra 4, and run 1 over would be right here. So to graph this line, will look like that. A little bit better, but so that's putting it in slope-intercept form, identifying the slope and y-intercept, and then graphing the linear equation. And that's how you do that question. All right, number 8. Graph the linear equation, identify the slope and y-intercept. So we have y equals mx plus b. So m is your slope. So remember what I said, that has an invisible 1 right there. So slope of this one would be -1. And then our y-intercept is the b on the end, which is a +5. And then it says graph the linear equation. So we're going to start with our y-intercept first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because this is our y-axis and this is our x-axis, so it's on a +5. And our slope is -1. So -1 can also be written with a 1 over it. So you have -1, so you're going to go down 1 from that point and over 1. So that's our next point. And then you just connect the dots. La, la, la. And that's graphing that. I think that's the last question. Yes, it is. All right, and that's the end of this video. If you don't understand it, please go back and review it as many times as you need to. See you later.